I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's poppin', my homies? Hope you're doing well, feeling blessed, having a good day, having a good week. This one's going to be Lerone Murphy taking on Josh Emmett in the main event. And before we get into breaking down the fights, making predictions, we check my bets from last weekend. And guys, I finally done it, man. I finally done it. I won the card. I profited on a UFC card finally this year. And it feels good to win again, man. It does, you know. And the bets I had was, it was going to be two parlays. My first parlay was Lupi Godinez and Raul Rosas Jr., which both of them, they dominated round one, they dominated round two. Then in the final round, they both had adversity come their way, but they got it done. So that parlay, it was a winner. Then my second parlay, which turned into a single bet, my second parlay was David Martinez with Joe Pyfer. But as you guys know, Joe Pyfer and Kelvin Gastelum, that fight doesn't happen. So it ends up being a single bet on David Martinez. And David Martinez, the speed, the footwork, the accuracy, the precision, that was beautiful. So I finally won. All right, guys, let's go. First matchup on the card, we've got Lil Monster, Vanessa Demopoulos versus Talita Alencar, grappler versus grappler, stripper jiu-jitsu versus high-level Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And Vanessa Demopoulos, she has more experience in mixed martial arts. She's also the better striker in the stand-up. And Talita Alencar is by far the more credentialed jiu-jitsu player. Not that Vanessa Demopoulos doesn't have a decent ground game, but Talita is just a few levels above on the ground. Both Vanessa Demopoulos and Talita Alencar, their cardio's not the best. I've really seen Vanessa Demopoulos slow down more than once. And I've also seen Talita Alencar slow down to the point where she's unable to get the opponent to the canvas. And that's her whole game. You know, bringing the opponent to the ground. And if she's unable to do that against Vanessa Demopoulos, that's a problem, especially being so inexperienced compared to Vanessa. Now, I'm going to side with who's more credentialed in the ground game. I'm going to side with the better grappler. And I do believe that's Talita Alencar. She is better on the ground. But guys, ultimately, it's a very tough prediction to make. It's women's mixed martial arts to start the card. You know what I'm saying? It's a very tough prediction. And I'm assuming the betting odds, they're going to be very close. I haven't checked the odds. And I'm checking the odds now. They're both minus 110. And that kind of does make sense because Talita has the better ground game, but Vanessa's more experienced. She's the better striker. And this one's going to be close, man. It's going to be very close. But I'm going to pick Talita to get it done via submission or a split decision. But I could be wrong. I'm not going to bet this. You know what I'm saying? It's stripper jiu-jitsu versus high-level Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Next matchup, we've got Victor Henry taking on Pedro Falcao. Another tough prediction to make. I think Victor Henry, he's got nice cardio, nice output, nice wrestling, nice grappling, good experience. But he's not very powerful though. If you look at his strikes, they don't really carry much weight. Whereas Pedro Falcao, his strikes certainly carry more significance. There's more power in the strikes of Pedro, but he doesn't have better cardio. He doesn't have more output. He might not be able to keep up with the constant footwork of Victor Henry. But here's what I think happens in this fight. I think Pedro Falcao, he wins round one. He potentially drops Victor Henry in round one. Actually, probably won't drop him in round one. He probably doesn't drop him, but I do expect the power of Pedro to show in round one more than any other round. Then in round two, I think Victor Henry starts to run away with that round by having the higher output. Something that he tries to do in round one. But Pedro being at 100% in round one, he's able to land those power strikes that gets in round one. But in round two, after burning 50% of his energy, he's not able to land those same powerful strikes. So Victor Henry starts to run away with round two based on output. Then we've got a 1-1 fight going into the final round. And I think the experience of Victor Henry, the cardio advantage, the output advantage, the footwork advantage, all of those advantages help Victor Henry win that final round. So I guess my prediction is going to be 29-28 for Victor Henry. And I've not checked the odds, but I will check the odds now. We've got Victor Henry minus 200, minus 225. I mean, I do think he'll lose round 1, but after round 1, I expect Pedro Falcao to basically fatigue and slow down. And that's where Victor Henry, with the cardio, the output, the experience, the grappling, he should run away with the fight. 29-28, Victor Henry. Hey, Loma Lookboonmee versus Istela Nunes. Listen, guys, listen. Loma Lookboonmee is an unbelievable Muay Thai striker. Unbelievable. One of the best Muay Thai strikers in the UFC. Her kicks, her elbows, her knees, the punches, the art of 8 limbs beautifully displayed by Loma Lookboonmee time and time again. And also, she's actually improved her wrestling and her grappling over the years. She hasn't improved her ground game to the point where you can say she's very, very good on the ground. I wouldn't say she's improved it to that level, but there's definitely progression in her ground game. There's progression in her weakness, which is what you've got to do in mixed martial arts. If there's a weakness in your skill set, you've got to improve that. And that's what she's doing. Now, Istela Nunes, on the flip side, she's 0-4 in the UFC. She's coming off a nasty knee injury where her kneecap, it went deep into the land of Snap City. Hey, you don't want to go to Snap City. You want to go to Money City. But guys, we've got to pick Loma Lookboonmee, the Muay Thai specialist. We've got to pick her to win. And I'm assuming her odds are somewhere around -250. Maybe a little bit higher than -250. Oh my goodness, -700. -700, -800. Oh my goodness. So I'm over here like, yeah, 250, -250, a little bit higher. -700, -800. So yeah, man, Loma Lookboonmee, she's going to dust up Istela Nunes. That's the pick. Next matchup, we've got Rhys McKee taking on Daniel Frunza. And we're going to be starting the breakdown with Rhys McKee, who's now 0-4 in the UFC. His UFC career just hasn't been good. He's really struggled to compete at the highest level of the game, mainly down to the fact that his defense, it just isn't good. His takedown defense also isn't good. He's just not that good in the UFC. But over in Cage Warriors, he could destroy all the competition put in front of him. But here's the thing though, he's fighting someone who's so inexperienced. Daniel Frunza, he's so inexperienced. He was a nice underdog on the Contender, and to be honest guys, his boxing was very sharp. It was technically very sharp in that Contender fight. But I just think Rhys McKee, he has to win. He has to find a way to win this fight. There's no excuses. This isn't Khamzat Chimaev. This isn't Chidi Nzechukwu. This isn't, you know, prime Alex Morono. If Rhys McKee can't win this fight, he doesn't deserve his second opportunity in the UFC. He has to find a way to win. And there's going to be moments for Daniel Frunza. There's obviously going to be moments. You know, he's going to find a target against a defensively bad Rhys McKee. But guys, Rhys McKee, he has to have more moments than Daniel Frunza. Daniel Frunza's going to have moments. He's going to find a target. He's going to be scoring. But Rhys McKee has to say to himself, look, I'm 0-4 in the UFC. I've got so much more experience than this guy. And I'm going to have more moments. I'm going to keep fighting round in, round out. And eventually, I think he should be able to break Daniel Frunza. Or if he doesn't break him, I think he should be able to have more moments. You know, score more in the fight. So I'm going to pick Rhys McKee to finally win in the UFC. And the odds. Rhys McKee's an underdog. He's an underdog, man. You know, 0-4. So the bookie's like, look, this guy keeps losing. He's an underdog now. I think he should win. I think he should win, man. Come on, Rhys. Next matchup, we've got Diana Belbita taking on Dione Barbosa. And guys, we're going to pick Barbosa. We're going to pick Barbosa because Diana Belbita, she's moving up in weight and she's just not that good. She's not that good, man. Her output is, you know, on the feet, she does have a nice output, but there's no power. There's no real power to her game. And then you're looking at Dione Barbosa, her ground game. Her ground game's really nice. And she's got more power. She's going to get the takedowns against Diana Belbita. And I just think Barbosa, that should be the pick. That should be the play. And I think Belbita, she potentially gets cut after she gets submitted and dusted on the ground by Barbosa. So my pick, I'm picking Dione Barbosa. And the odds, oh my goodness. -1,000. -1,000. So I was thinking about betting on Barbosa. I really was, but Minus 1,000. It's like, how do I do that? How do I bet on Barbosa now? I can't do it now. I can't, but that's the pick. Guys, moving into a phenomenal matchup. We've got Dangerous Davey Grant taking on Daniel Santos. How do we make a pick? How do we make a pick? Because Dangerous Davey Grant, he just looks good, man. Even at 39 years old, he looks so good. Look at his last fight. Look at his last fight. The striking of Dangerous Davey Grant. The unorthodox and unique combinations of Davey Grant. It's so nice to see. Even at 39 years old, you know, his switching of stances, his unpredictability. He just looks so good in his last fight. And I know he fought someone that's very inexperienced. He fought someone that's so inexperienced, but you can't take away from his performance. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. Dangerous Davey Grant, even at 39 years old, looking so good. Then you're looking at Daniel Santos, and I feel like it's been a minute. I feel like it's been a minute since Daniel Santos fought. But Daniel Santos is so aggressive. He's so dangerous in a way. They're both the same fighter in a way. They're so aggressive. They're going to lock horns in the middle of the octagon. And it's going to be like, who's going to win, man? Who's going to win between Daniel Santos and Dangerous Davey Grant? I kind of lean towards Daniel Santos, but at the same time, I don't know, man. I don't know. Dangerous Davey Grant, he might have his number. Because if Daniel Santos wants to meet Dangerous Davey Grant in the middle of the octagon, Davey Grant ain't running away. He's not running away. He's going to say, okay, let's strike in the middle. Let's strike in the middle of the octagon. Actually, I'm going to pick Davey Grant. I'm going to pick Davey Grant. I was leaning towards Daniel Santos, but I think even at 39 years old, Dangerous Davey Grant, man, he's dangerous still. He is still dangerous. So I'm going to pick the older fighter. I'm going to pick Davey Grant. And I'm assuming the odds, they should be close. They should be. We've got Davey Grant only plus 120. Only plus 120. So the bookie knows. The bookie knows, man. Any of these fighters can hit the canvas. Either of these fighters can get a big knockout. This is going to be a real scrap. It's going to be a real scrap. I'm picking the underdog. Next matchup, we've got O'Day Osbourne taking on Luis Gurule. I believe is the pronunciation. Now, this matchup here, it's going to be a very, very fun fight. It's going to be a banger because O'Day Osbourne, at least in round one, is very dangerous. He's a very fast kicker. He's very agile. He's very quick. But as the fight progresses past round one, O'Day Osbourne, man, he just crumbles. He turns to dust. And I just think O'Day Osbourne is one of these fighters that you can't really trust. You can't really trust O'Day Osbourne. In round one, like I say, in round one, he's good. But past round one, he just fades. He just fades, man. The cardio turns to dust. His IQ, it's just dusty. Then you've got Luis Gurule, who's actually very well-rounded. His grappling's good. His wrestling's good. His striking's good. But he's not proven at the same level as O'Day Osbourne. So in a way, his UFC debut, it's going to be a tough debut, at least in round one. But as we get past round one, I think the well-roundedness of Luis Gurule, it's going to show more and more as O'Day Osbourne starts to fatigue. So I'm actually going to pick the newcomer. I'm actually going to pick Luis Gurule. And I just think, you know, O'Day Osbourne, man, he's a fighter you can't trust. You can't trust him. But I'm interested to see, what are the odds on this fight? What are the odds? Yeah, O'Day Osbourne plus 200. Plus 200. You can't trust O'Day. I'm sorry, O'Day Osbourne. We cannot trust you. Next matchup, we've got Torres Finney taking on Robert Valentin. And guys, my prediction for this fight, I'm going to predict Torres Finney to win. But I don't want to be correct. I don't want to be correct. And that may be unpopular with some people because they like Torres Finney. But I think Robert Valentin, his Muay Thai striking is so good. And I do have some bias towards the Muay Thai strikers. So I do hope, you know, Robert Valentin, he can land a beautiful head kick, a beautiful body kick. So I kind of hope Robert Valentin, he finds that KO TKO. But inside the smaller octagon, guys, you got to remember, it's the smaller octagon. And it does play a role in these fights. Torres Finney, he's a fridge. He is a fridge, man. Look at his physique. Look at this guy's physique. So the moment he gets Robert Valentin to the canvas, he's just going to land Robert Valentin. And Robert's going to basically lay there and not be able to do anything. Because Torres Finney, he's a fridge, man. And it's like, the moment he gets a takedown, that's it for the whole round, pretty much. And I just think he's going to win a very boring decision where he gets Robert Valentin to the fence. He brings him to the canvas. Once he gets him to the canvas, Robert Valentin, he's not going to be able to get up. And that's going to be very frustrating to watch, especially if you're betting on Valentin. But I do think Valentin has the better striking. I do think his Muay Thai is very, very good. But this isn't about Muay Thai. This is about mixed martial arts. We can wrestle. And that's exactly what Torres Finney is going to do. He's going to push Robert Valentin to the fence. He's going to get some control time. Then he's going to bring Valentin to the canvas. And that's where, you know, the control time continues to add up. And he's just going to win rounds based on being a fridge, being a muscled up fridge. So I'm going to have to pick Torres Finney in the smaller octagon. Now, if it was in the bigger octagon, then there's more space for Valentin. There's more space for him. And he does need space. Whereas Finney, he doesn't want space. He wants to get you to the fence. And when there's less space, he's going to be able to do that. And he's also going to wrestle him to the canvas. So yeah, the pick's going to be Torres Finney. But I do hope I'm wrong. I hope Valentin, he lands a massive head kick. That's what I hope happens. But I don't think it will. So the pick's going to be Finney. And the odds have Finney minus 270. In the smaller octagon, I guess it makes sense. Next matchup, we've got Brad Tavares taking on Gerald Meerschaert, the American version of Paul Craig. Is GM3. He hasn't got any boxing. His kicking is okay to the body, but his kicking's not that good. His defense ain't good. His cardio ain't good. His footwork ain't good. His durability, his chin durability, it's not good. He is the American version of Paul Craig. And if you're going to bet on GM3, you bet submission. You don't bet TKO. You don't bet decision. You bet on the submission. And that's going to be the way for GM3 to find a win. But I just think there's so many weaknesses. There's so many holes in his game. Like I say, he's the American version of Paul Craig. Now here's the thing. Brad Tavares, he is so past his prime. He is so past his prime. And I just think his performances over the last 2 years, they've been so disappointing. He is the better boxer. He does have good takedown defense. And if he keeps this fight on the feet, he should win. You know, in a striking match, Brad Tavares, GM3, we've got to pick Brad Tavares. We have to pick Brad. And if GM3 finds a way to win, if GM3 can find a way to bring Brad Tavares to the canvas and find that submission, I wouldn't be shocked. I really wouldn't. Now, I'm not going to bet on Brad Tavares. I'm going to pick him to win, but I'm not going to bet him. There's no way I'm betting Brad Tavares. He's just so past his prime. His performances have been so disappointing. And if GM3 finds a way to win, I wouldn't be shocked. But the pick for me, it has to be Brad Tavares. And guys, the prediction's based on assuming the takedown defense of Brad Tavares is there. It's good to go. If he defends the takedowns, we stay on the feet. And if we stay on the feet, it should be the boxing, the kickboxing of Brad Tavares. So that's my pick. And the odds have Brad Tavares minus 250. I mean, if it stays on the feet, then I agree. If we go to the ground, then you flip those odds. You flip them. Next matchup, we've got Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Martin Buday. And my prediction, it has to be Kennedy Nzechukwu. And I know there's times where he'll kind of stare at the opponent. He won't really do much in the fight. And you're kind of thinking what his coach is thinking. Kennedy, you've got to go. Throw your strikes, throw your strikes. And his coach is always, you know, pretty much screaming at him for the whole time. But that's because his coach knows what he can do. His coach knows what he can do. And at times, Kennedy just stands there and stares. And it's like, you've got to do more. You have to do more. But here's the thing, man. He's moved up to heavyweight. And he did get a stoppage against Chris Barnett. And now he's fighting Martin Buday. And Martin Buday, I mean, he's not that good. He's really not that good. You know, there's no speed. There's no dangerous striking to the game of Martin Buday. And also his defense. If you look at the defense of Martin Buday, when you throw strikes on Martin Buday, he'll just shell up. He'll just shell up and be like, okay, you're going to land your strikes, but I'm going to put my hands up. And now you can land over the guard or through the guard. And it's just like, it's not that good. It's really not that good. So when you're looking at the areas that Martin Buday really does well in, it's against the fence. He'll push the opponent against the fence and kind of bore the fans. But at the same time, that's kind of what he has to do. You know, push Kennedy against the fence, bring him to the canvas, just win on control time, dust him up in the clinch. But I just think Kennedy, he should win this fight. He really should. So my prediction has to be Kennedy and Nzechukwu. And the betting odds, we've got Kennedy minus 350, minus 300. So yeah, Kennedy should win. I hope he wins. Next matchup, we've got Joanderson Brito taking on Pat Sabatini. And Pat Sabatini, he's got amazing jiu-jitsu, amazing grappling. He's a wrestler. He's a ground fighter. And he can win this fight. He definitely can win this fight. But I just think his chin durability, his chin is so dusty. And Joanderson Brito, he's so aggressive. He's so powerful. And if he lands on the chin of Pat Sabatini, if he finds his chin, especially early in round one, that's fight done. That's fight done. And Joanderson Brito, remember his calf kicks against Jack Shaw? He was landing those calf kicks and they were so powerful. They were power low kicks. And Joanderson Brito, he also has good jiu-jitsu. His jiu-jitsu is also good, but I don't think it's as good as Pat Sabatini. Pat Sabatini, man, he's a specialist on the ground. And that's exactly what he wants to do in this fight. He doesn't look at his opponent, Joanderson Brito, and say, look, Brito, his jiu-jitsu is good, mine's good, we're going to stay on the feet. He doesn't say that. Pat Sabatini says, your jiu-jitsu is good, mine's better, and I'm going to teach you on the ground. So Pat Sabatini, he wants to fight on the ground. He wants to basically drown Joanderson Brito. But I just think the power of Joanderson, he's so aggressive. He's so significant on the feet. And there's a real chance that Joanderson Brito finds the chin, the dusty chin of Pat Sabatini. And there's also a chance for a nice club and sub for Joanderson. So I have to side with Joanderson, the Brazilian powerhouse. He's so good on the feet. He's so aggressive. Now, there is a chance that he uses too much energy and gets tired. And if he gets tired against Pat Sabatini, then there's certainly a chance that Pat Sabatini, he can find that submission. But it's all dependent on Joanderson Brito. If he uses too much energy, then he's in trouble. He's in real trouble. But I just think the dusty chin of Pat Sabatini, the aggressive low kicks, the powerful punches of Joanderson, and also the ground game of Joanderson, it's not like he's at a complete mismatch in the grappling. So I just think there's more ways for Joanderson to win. And he's so powerful. So yeah, that's the pick. Give me Joanderson Brito. Next matchup, the main event. We've got Lerone Murphy taking on the powerful hitter, Josh Emmett. And this is going to be fun. It's going to be very fun. It's inside the small octagon, right? So Josh Emmett, he's going to have his moments. He's going to have his chances to essentially shut off the consciousness of Lerone Murphy. But can he find the chin? Can he find it? He's going to have his moments. He's going to have his chances. But I just think Lerone Murphy, he's so intelligent. He can box, right? He can box. Now, he doesn't have the same power as Josh Emmett, you know. Josh Emmett hit Bryce Mitchell so hard. He hit him so hard that Bryce Mitchell, he said Adolf Hitler was a guy to go fishing with. You know, that's how hard he hit Bryce Mitchell. Think about that. Just think about that for 1 second. That's what Bryce Mitchell said. Bryce Mitchell said that, not me. And that's the power of Josh Emmett. But I just think Lerone Murphy, time and time again, he shows us how intelligent he is. The jab. He follows up the jab with the two. The straight right hand. His kicks are good. His wrestling's good. His jiu-jitsu. He's got experience now. He's undefeated. And that's not a good thing in 2025. Because there's been 25 undefeated fighters this year. And only 8 of them have won. So that means 17 of them have lost their 0. And that's not a good thing. That's an awful stat this year. But I just think the intelligence of Lerone Murphy, he knows what Josh Emmett's about. He knows. He knows that Josh Emmett wants to be in the phone booth, right in the pocket. And Lerone Murphy's going to be like, well, I've got a jab for you. I've got a jab to keep you away from the pocket. And we're not going to go into the pocket. We're going to fight a strategic fight. We're going to fight a smart fight. And that's all about keeping Josh Emmett away from the pocket. And if he does that, he should win. So my prediction, I'm going to take a risky one in a way. I'm going to pick the undefeated fighter, Lerone Murphy, to stay away from the pocket. You've got to stay away from the pocket against Josh Emmett. You have to. Unless you're Ilia Topuria, who can go into the pocket and defeat Josh Emmett at his own game. But Lerone Murphy's not going to do that. He's going to, use the footwork, use the jab, use the kicks, keep Josh Emmett frustrated. And if he does that, he should win the fight. So my prediction, Lerone Murphy to get it done again in the main event. And looking at the betting odds, we've got Lerone Murphy now up to -300, -340. Wow, that betting line is getting a little wide. It's getting a little wide, but if you're going to bet on Josh Emmett, you just take KO TKO. You don't take money line. You don't take decision. You don't take submission. You take the KO TKO because you know what he's going to do. You know what he's trying to do. But will he do it? Will he find a way to shut off the consciousness of Lerone Murphy? I don't think so. I don't think so. As always, guys, drop down your main event, your co-main event, your doubles, your Money City plays, your singles, your parlays, all that good stuff. Drop in the comment section below. And as always, keep your eyes to the sky and never glued to your shoes. Peace.